Mahasattva said to Venerable Shariputra, O Shariputra, a son or daughter of noble family who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita should see in this way, seeing the 5 skandhas to be emptiness. Form is emptiness, emptiness also is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Thus, Shariputra, all dharmas are emptiness. There are no characteristics. There is no birth and no cessation. There is no impurity and no purity. There is no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no dharmas, no I dhatu up to no mind dhatu, no dhatu of dharmas, no mind consciousness dhatu, no ignorance, no end of ignorance up to no old age and death, no end of old age and death, no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since the Bodhisattvas have no attainment, they abide by means of Prajnaparamita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, there is no fear. They transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. All the Buddhas of the 3 times, by means of Prajnaparamita, fully awaken to unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the great mantra of Prajnaparamita, the mantra of great insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as truth, since there is no deception. Prajnaparamita mantra is said in this way: Teata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangati Bodhisoha. Thus Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should try the profound Prajnaparamita. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, thus it is, O son of noble family, thus it is. One should practice the profound Prajnaparamita just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, that whole assembly in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Chenrezig Mediyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangati Bodhiso Baba Gonju Zonji Gai Deme Doji She Robo Doji Mebo Doji Shewa Doji Nagi Baji Medum Biju Donji Shetin Koryezo Gere No Nya Jejo Shewada Meto no Beyen Dan Dewa Dan Domba Junji Munzun Zun Joji Jashi Yan Adele Yo. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun, and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. Holy Lamas high, wrap the sky of your Dharma bodies in massive clouds of knowledge and love, and let them pour upon the earth of your disciples as we are ready, a shower of rain, the teachings deep and wide. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. Hidam Guru Ratna Mandala Gamniradayami. Jadan Tsaji Janam La Nyanjo Badu Dani Jasuchi Dagi Junye Jibe Sunamji Rola Benji Zanye Rubarjo Jadan Tsaji Janam La Nyanjo Badu Dani Jasuchi Dagi Junye Jibe Sunamji Rola Benji Zanye Rubarjo Jadan Tsaji Janam La Shanju Badu Dani Jasuchi Dagi Chinye Jibe Sunamji Rola Benji Zanye Rubarjo.
Today, Zamlin or Zamlin
Shiwa. So today is a special time, and today is the World Peace Protector. So the Zamling is world, Shiwa is peace, and he's Suma, which is a protector. So there's some sort of special time, it's a special day that relates to the World Peace Protector of Peace today, of the world. It would be Pamasambhava. The Suma Pamasambhava in. So when we're thinking, when we're making offerings and so forth, we're thinking about the world peace that this, the pacification of the world that this protector can create. As a note, the pacification Padmasambhava made in Tibet. So the pacification of the world that this protector creates. So when we're making offerings and so forth today, we think about this.
So
in Tibet, they make many of the powdered incense offering, and then in India, they make more of the actual incense offering. So there's the sung, the juniper, the powder and juniper incense offering, and then in India, it's more of the sticked incense offerings that are done today. So we also see this offering of the smokes and juniper powdered incense and so forth in the Bon tradition as well. So today, this is the time. this is the time of that.
Tā ngā tsū wā tē lārī tē lē diyo bā. Tēne tā lārī lājī tā wā shēnyē tēmbi tsū tā tēne lō chidā chāng rīmbā nī jē. Tēne lō chidā chāng rīmbā tā lā tā yu tēnā kēmbā lā bī shī kua. Kēmbā lā tsū nī. Kēmbā lā tsū kua tā lā chabā chōngu tā tōmō lājī rīmbā lō shāng bī tsū tāng. Dē tā tōmō lājī rīmbā lō shāng bī tsū. Chabā chibī lājī rīmbā lō shāng bī tsū. Song le chabu chungo da tomo laji reba lo jang bizu tela samba jang ngo da samba de jebise tela lo tu sawas ta samba jang ngo da jiden shema to ni lo jeba da jiden shema de ta de ba ni jiden shema de ta de ba da jang du de le ni ni ge dang jang du je jang du de la jiao sun ju jo jiao sun ju yu jiao sun ju chu jiao sun ju la ja ji na ne Chenru Lhaja Katu Marwa, Chenru Lhaja Talan Duani Shibil Lhaja Tang, Mengal Shibil Lhaja Ni Gnane, and Mengal Shibil Lhaja. Tella Suju Lhaja Tang, Tumung Lhaja Ni Gnane, Tumung Lhaja Led Marwa.
Yeah. So once again, we are looking at Lama Tsong-kha-pa's great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment. And if we follow the outline, we'll see that it begins with relying on the teacher that is a root of the path, and then the second point of how students train their minds after having relied upon the teacher. And then in the section of how students train their minds after having relied upon the teacher, the two categories of the exhortation to take full advantage of a life of leisure and opportunity, and then the second point of how to take full advantage of a life of leisure and opportunity. Under the heading of how to take advantage of a life of leisure and opportunity, we have training the mind, the stages of the path shared in common with beings of small capacity, training the mind, the stages of the path shared in common with beings of medium capacity, and training the mind, the stages of the path for beings of great capacity. So in the beginning category, training the mind, the stages of the path shared in common with beings of small capacity, we have three categories, 3 points that are made. The actual training of thought of a person of small capacity, the measure of the training of thought, or the measure of the attitude of a person of small capacity, and then dispelling any misconceptions related to a person of small capacity. So that first category of developing the training of thought of a person of small capacity has two categories: developing a state of mind that strives diligently for the sake of future lives, and then the second point of relying on a method or a means for achieving happiness in one's next life. So under that category, the second category, we have 2 points or 2 topics. First, refuge or going for refuge, and then secondly, the karma and its results. So the first section, going for refuge, has 4 points. First, the causes of going for refuge. Second, based on that, the objects to which you go for refuge to. Third, how to go for refuge. And then the fourth, the precepts or the advices that are related to going for refuge. So if you look at that 4 category outline, the fourth category of the precepts of refuge or the advices for refuge is the section that we're dealing with. And there are 2 ways that the advices or the precepts are explained. First, by way of the compendium of determinations, and then secondly, by way of the oral tradition. And then the oral tradition is explained in terms of the uncommon precepts and the common precepts, or the specific precepts and the general precepts. So we're currently in the precepts that are in common section, or the advices that are in common. And this is according to the oral tradition. Diksan. So we're in the general precept section, and then we're going to go through the 6 precepts again, because if we go around these topics again and again, then we'll know them.
Waji tumungu laja la trule, kunju sonji cheba tanga, yuenten jesu tembe, yang to jiao sun ruas, yang tang jiao saji tangbuji.
Lessa.
Ta kadi jesu tembe tuita tu cheba la zunshin, zawa de pyu jang biwas, saji nyingbaji.
Lessa.
Ta tida, niji jesu tembe, ruwa yin yang, tsui de lang goba, niji jesu tembe, nen ruwa yin chandul goya mandwa. Shawa ganshi sheba tang goba ji yoba na kunju song la chue ne so an de shin ji den bi tao jian bon was wo de ji de ne pen shen ne nin la song chen la song zhao sun zhuo sha wa kunju song ta na jian ge ji shi su ge she yang ma dang xin song sha wo wo de ga zhe de lu zhuo de de what the rules
okay. So the 6 are as followed. So these are the general precepts of the precepts that are in common to the 3 jewels. So first is by recalling the differences and the good qualities of the 3 jewels, go for refuge again and again. So that's the first. The second is by recalling the great kindness of the 3 jewels, strive to worship them constantly and offer the first portion of your food or drink. Or first offer your food and drink to the 3 jewels is another way that you could translate that. So it isn't a separate portion. So first offer, then you can utilize it. Establish other living beings in the practice by considering them with compassion. Whatever activity you engage in, whatever your purpose, make offerings and supplications to the 3 jewels, forsaking any other worldly methods. After knowing the benefits or understanding the benefits, go for refuge 3 times a day and 3 times at night. And then maintain your refuge and do not forsake the 3 jewels, even in jest or if it costs your life. So these are the 6 general precepts that are gone over. So we're going to go over the section in the Lamrim Chenmo again on page 197 in the English and 147 it begins in the Tibetan.
Shabada nabi chabada konjuzo na penjuji chabada tadaki yuten yang senba usa ta saji tambu tunda do teres jermujirwa ngashibata shabada nabi chaba ne shibi tambata nabi tambi chaba shibi tambata nabi tambi chaba shibi tambala luba ta nabi tambala lubi chaba tene konjuzo na penjuji chaba saji konju konju genu konju na penjuji chaba 아니 사지 건주에 추건주에 근육 건주에 what 수 양내 선에 저순도 담비인 바래 사지 담비 된다더라
맞아요
what 당아주 준주스 다주스 대 준주스 된바 what the 로즈라샤나
So we begin here by recalling the distinctions and good qualities of the 3 jewels, go for refuge again and again. As previously explained, as explained before in the Lamrim Chenmo, you should repeatedly keep in mind the differences between non-Buddhists and Buddhists, so the difference between a non-Buddhist and Buddhist teacher, a non-Buddhist and Buddhist truth or teaching, and the difference between non-Buddhist and Buddhist disciples or students. So we've gone over that. The distinction among the 3 jewels, the differences or the distinctions among the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sanghas. So this point gone over, and then the good qualities or the excellent qualities of the 3 jewels. So this falls categorically under continuous offering or constant offering category.
다 사진이 받고 된다도 데려도 가린 첨부 제수 tembe 뒤다도 줘발라 준시 자와단 자유 표정비와 사진이 바로와 호텔 몸을 해온도다 비와네 가린 첨부 제수 tembe 당아도 네 건조소도 가줄 가디 싶으시라래 건조소만 가줄 가디 싶으시라래 네 가디 싶어 간데서나 안는 아주 르롱쇼다 person소바 강가로 거와라 되는 쇼요아래 거와데 건조송 틀레 나무레스 안 사지기 틀레레 안 어디 추건주 건조송이 네 가서 그 가딘라 되네 안는 아주 르롱쇼 person소바라 소바 어디 수가 쇼요다 가딘 쳬비지스 되네 안에 쳬발라 준신 뒤다던 아주 쳬범비야도 어때 매전제고래 칼레제고레스 zawa jayu pyu jang biwanes tanga sa tonga tu zagi pyu de ya sanjil chuban bugures te khond gabandu sna tingan ji jabole sanji sona jene senye jans sanji kyaba senye jan dala sheba zum juro she son bata rosa ta sanjil chuba pyu na sanji ge ane sanjil phaya da sanjil chuba ma bina sanjil ma phaya tan yo mares sanji kyaba tama sun sa su sabe senye jan dala sheba zum juro sheba tanga su senje sama senje ngalo sheba su ju la goro da ngaso wote sheba senje da ma chwa te ta ngaso le long je pense so ba te konju son kadin ba shego ma da ma sheba so so sheba zu che do ane konju lu sheba bi ala so ba tan shego ma res tala sheba zo men juro she son ba tar kaje nye bi tsunes sonje kyaba tama son tu sabe ne kaje nye bi tsune ran la kaje go ran la dele ta je sonje konju son choban byoge na ane susul ane ndebo tendu yong gore taba yong gore sanji kubong yong gore susul pen che yong gore kaje nye bi tsune ran la dele kanjon ta je konju kadin de sheba shelas 소설 되는 평소 수바 참말로 안는 건축 가딘 바데 셰바시고 가딘 셰바실라 셰바주이 삼베네 쳐바샤오사 건축선도 처음 배우고 그래서 어디 잠말바 어디 받지 주잖아.
So that is the explanation of the first category. By recalling the distinctions and good qualities of the three jewels, go for refuge again and again. The second point, by recalling the great kindness of the three jewels, strive to worship them constantly and offer the first portion of your food and drink. So this is to make an offering first of one's food and drink whenever one uses these substances by recognizing the kindness of the three jewels. So we recognize that all of our body and enjoyments, excellent qualities that we have depend upon previous accumulation of virtue. Virtue is the enlightened activities of the Buddha. So it's because of the Buddha's kindness and enlightened activities that we're able to accumulate virtue, that the results of our body and the enjoyments and the excellent qualities that we have come about. So it depends upon the enlightened activities, or more literally, our virtue is the enlightened activities of the Buddha. So then we look for where do we find this point made, and we find it in the King of Concentration's Sutra, where it states that though they obtain food due to the Buddha's merit, the childish do not repay their kindness. So the Buddha's there is referring to the Buddha's kindness. The Buddha accumulated merit for 3 countless eons. So all of these excellent qualities of the body and enjoyments that we have are due to the Buddha's accumulation of merit, because they depend on the enlightened activities of the Buddha, and the Buddha became a Buddha through the 3 countless eons of merit. So we see here that we are obtaining this. Here it says food, and then it'll go on later to explain that food because of the Buddha's merit, because of this accumulation of merit through 3 countless eons. And it says the childish do not repay their kindness. So the ordinary beings, this word childish stands for ordinary beings, normal beings, ordinary beings, do not repay their kindness because they don't know that these enjoyments in their body and so forth are a result of the Buddha's kindness. So they're childish, they're ordinary beings, and they don't know that the reason that they have these things are because of the enlightened activities of the Buddha. And then it says, thus knowing that all temporary happiness and certain goodness that you experience, symbolized by food, so food here is the symbol of these, it says temporary happiness and certain goodness, so referring to rebirth in the higher realms, and then of temporary happiness, and then certain goodness of liberation, and then complete Buddhahood. So we find that all of these forms of happiness that can be experienced and then this food is used as a symbol to represent these, are due to the kindness of the three jewels. You should make offerings with the intention of repaying their kindness. Dixon. So do.
Tala choba shawa dan shibi samba ni les ta saje ni ba dal choba shawa dan shibi samba ni duwa choba shawa dal chuje choba shawa dal chu shibi samba se ta ane kunju sung choba byogi na ane phen chebo res do di jusen jusan dan duwa wo de phen da mje mi jun chuje choba shawa je ni ba je shibi samba somba je somba je na wol man ja je 사지 주팅으로 주송도 버티는데 다와 담부 쳐봐셔와들 주로 쳐봐셔와들 주지 쳐봐셔와들 주 사지 주고라 쳐봐 최대한라 쳐봐 뭐송도 쳐봐 뭐송 많이 쳐봐 랑그 라든 쳐봐 젠셰도 주비 쳐봐 라제 투몬 쳐봐 어때네 라제 투몬 쳐봐 Duro Jachi Chobaji and Yomoji Miami Chobaji, then Drubi Chobarba. What should the do?
That's so. So then the next section, it says, with regard to offerings, there are two categories, the actions of offering and then the attitudes. So the actions of offering, there is quite a bit of information. We find 10 categories, and this falls categorically in Jamyang Sheba's outline into the action of offering, which is the second. And then the third category is the attitude of offering in Jamyang Sheba's commentary. And the attitude of offering is the one has the attitude that these things are beneficial, and then there are 6 reasons that are presented in the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment related to these attitudes and the reasons they're beneficial. So we'll begin then with the 10 actions or activities of offering or actions of offering. So it begins with offering to the body, second offering to stupa, third offering to the directly perceived, fourth offering to the not directly perceived, 5 offering made by oneself, 6 offering one helps others to make, 7 offering made by oneself and an offering that one helps others to make, number 8 the vast offering, number 9 offering not possessing the thoroughly afflicted, and then number 10 the concordant offerings. So these are the 10 categories of offering in the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment.
What the Choba Shawat the Chuba in Choba Karbu was na nearby the Koti Chobu was nearby the Koti what the neighbor, the angel Kusutanjana, nearby the Koti Choban and Nazata. Ta nearby the but nearby Nazata she said down, Zincheta, Den down, and then huge swimming down, Vijita Duba down. ane shema shubi pyu tang metu ki chenwa to rimi da tang mame hasu biwa tang kyobar shawa tenma ta nyeba to kote ti imbar kote tang hasu kyobar shawa to su kote imbarwa kyobar shawa to sha tsewa tang ngonsun tu tangwa tang tamu shawa tang tueba hasu jeba tang ane yuela ngen sha shawa tang ishu su kurwa tang shinla suba se mesheba jimba dan nobu dan kencha dan ane ojin la sobe jen dan tana jebun biwa dan kashapan towa dan sebu tenyu sanje santi cheten la cheba os sanje santi cheten le ane nieba to kotik chogu so tizare.
So then the question is, what does one offer to the Buddha's body, to the stupas, and so forth? Then the next point that's made, we find on page 198 in the English, we make offerings of wealth and service. So this is not, again, just anybody who's following this number. 7 is not our number 7. This is an explanation of what one is offering. Number 7 is actually an offering made by oneself and an offering that one helps others to make. That's a combination in common between those two points. So then what does one offer in all these cases of offering to the stupa, etc., etc., etc.? One offers wealth and service. So it says wealth and service are offerings to a Buddha or his stupa, consisting of gifts of clothing, food, bedding, seats, medicine, personal necessities, incense, aromatic powders and ointments, flower garlands, music, and various types of lamps. There are also offering respectful speech, prostrations, rising before the other, hands joined together respectfully, a variety of praises, obeisance with your limbs and head touching the ground, and clockwise circumambulation. Moreover, the inexhaustible gifts such as fields can be given, as well as offerings of jewels, earrings, bracelets, and the like. At least there are offerings of bells, silver coins, and spools of thread to the Buddha's body and stupas. So this is, you find offerings of wealth and service are, you could translate it either way, I guess. Offerings of wealth and service are offerings consisting of gifts, et cetera, and then ending with to the Buddhas and the stupas. So you could switch this around either way. When Rinpoche was giving his reading through it, he said that at the end. So that's it.
제바로와 자치 제바 쭉난 제바들도 제바는 년고다기 요즘 제바때 대형업부 마와다 상와다 무슨 이메다 라다 젠지 제바다 히타바는 가신 마바타비 출라 그와테야 두비 상주 동화도 둔도와 어때 자치 제바데 말에
So the next vast offerings means offering of the above wealth and service over a long duration. Furthermore, they have 7 qualities, being copious, excellent, both perceived and directly perceived and not directly perceived, done by both oneself and others, and being offered with heartfelt delight, fervent aspiration, and with the merit being dedicated to perfect enlightenment. So these are the vast offerings, and then there are 7 qualities that are listed. Number 8. Less so.
네 건줄 줘 내봐도 거기 줘봐 배워이나 녀모진 줘봐래는데 레로에 와게든 줘봐 배워이나 되네 가르사 녀모진가 되는 거지로다 최소다 밤에도 레로 와도 뭐주기 랑게 라다바랑 대왕이 줘봐 마이바 랑 라다는 줘봐 배워다 그버샤와다 세마이바 셔봐다 ane chasu ta ma debe nyomo ba chen mayimba sheba ta sanje la tebi jabu su le nyego tudre ne meje ba ta tubi ngobi cheba te chore ndo te nasil ta chuzu ando ta tubi ngobi te wa tusi iba ina ma tubi kari yorsana ma tubi pale shoba ta 마쿠 초와다 고고도바다 아게 마투 토와다 제야 유지로와 메바다 자와스 유지로와 마이바도 솔레 네 메투비고 버레스 도스다 자왈레 튜비고 what is it
So the next, number 9, is offerings not contaminated with afflictions, are offerings with 6 qualities. So if one, so this first is manually by yourself or with one's own hands, not making others to do them, out of contempt, carelessness, or laziness. So here it's saying if any of the negativities are present when one is manually by oneself or with one's own hand making an offering, then it does not categorically fall under an offering not contaminated with the affliction. So even if one is making an offering, if one possesses, for instance, pride or miserliness or contempt or carelessness or laziness, if any of these things are present when one is making it with one's own hand, then it is necessarily an offering that is contaminated or possessing the afflictions. So if one makes an offering with one's own hand and it is free of any among the afflictions, then it becomes an offering not possessing among the afflictions, not contaminated with the afflictions. So this is the first point, that it's done by oneself and isn't done by oneself, not making someone else to do it, and isn't done out of contempt, laziness, or mixed with, or while being having contempt, or etc., etc. Contempt, carelessness, or laziness. Done with respect. Without a distracted mind, or without distraction, free of the afflictions in that they are not mixed with attachment and the like, without exception of receiving wealth and service from kings and so on who have faith in the Buddha, and with concordant things. And so here we have proper material accompaniments. Proper material accompaniments are concordant, or proper things include whatever is free of improper things or inappropriate things. So here there are a list of what is inappropriate in order to explain what is appropriate. So what is not concordant to explain what concordant means. So here it says even if one is acting properly, it's not appropriate to anoint something with bala. To medicinal ointment. So I don't know, bala we decided was a sort of a fake gold paint. So just as a note, soaking something in clarified butter should really say washing. The word true means to wash. So washing something in boiled butter, which is clarified butter, burning a fragrant gukul resin, or offering the remnants of a spirit offering, the gukul resin, the remnants, offering white akra flowers, and so forth. So these are the list of the things that are not concordant. Decent. So if we go through this slowly, and then each individual here will then understand what the meaning of these things are very well. So as individuals slowly look at this and read it, then the understanding is going to come. The real understanding. So then it says, if you don't have these offerings yourself, and you haven't requested them from someone else, so this sentence here that says, if you have neither prepared these offering materials yourself nor requested them from others. So if you don't have these offering materials yourself and you haven't requested them from others, you can, and then it goes on. Dene? Demena?
Dadu mazungi, tas chotan ratan mutu mabuyoro. What does Puna digre? Jen choba pukentul Jesu Iran Jeba ina, and Kali Chujunre, and the two Chembu Nugres. Se Chung, Se maybe Choba Chembo, and Shanchu two Yonsu Duba de Tala Tato, Saint Nyan Dewa Dan, Saint Gayu, Jamba Shaosa. Choba Susul Buatan Maba ina, Dadu Mazun Chotan, Ratan, Matutan, what Chobabu, Jen Chobabu against Jesu Iran Jena, Sona de Jituzun Res. Susakanduzana do Conju Tintan, Tansi Sun Kobal Sundu, Somba Tar, Dabe Mazun Matutan, Debutan, Shintan, Remechela Suba Najan, Urashaus, what the Imbade.
So then it goes on to say, you should delight in all the appropriate offerings to the Tathagatas that exist throughout the universe. Imagine them to be vast and pervasive, and rejoice in others offering them. So one is rejoicing. So rejoicing is a very easy way that requires very little effort, but it allows one to accumulate a vast amount of merit. So rejoicing in offerings others have made, and others have made throughout the entire universe, to all of the Tathagatas that exist. So one is rejoicing in these offerings, and then one can also offer things that are unowned. So this all kind of goes together. Having made this great measureless offering, you will, with little difficulty, amass the accumulations necessary for attaining enlightenment. Strive constantly to do this with a contented, happy mind. As it says in the Cloud of Jewels Sutra, an array of tree pledges, you can also give unknown flowers, fruit, trees, jewels, and the like. So here are examples of offerings one can make of unowned things, offerings that are rejoicing in others, making offerings. So examples of a multitude of ways that one can make offerings, even if one isn't, have one, him or herself, or hasn't asked someone for them. So these are examples of the ways that these things offerings can be made with the absence of the material accompaniments and so forth. So that's it. Dixon.
So
the sixth is the offering of the 10th point is the offering of practice.
Tengah mai san chu sia marba cheme ji goya chu ji dong ji dang du ji dang ji ma da ba za ji dang ji du ngwa chu dang ji dong ji da ma ba goya ani jiao song kon ju song le jiao song do ala su ba de su men ba pa xin ji su den ba dans ta sa mo tong ba ni la me ji ma tu la su ba ma tu ba ne ba dans ma tu ba ne ba ta to ni tu jung sang jung shi ro wa de ne Dingan zu gongba yin na tenne motubi shiro kali kali jiong go shiro ta motuba ne ba tang su ting la dongsen xie ba tang ane shang chu ju chu tang shang shu su dun su ma riba song ju dun tang song ju xie song ju sa gu ta di je xie ji na ba song ju su dun ma ge kao yi ba nu ya de su yin sa ro ba wa de zin ding tang tu mong lang ding tang tu mong ane pa xin tang duwa xie song du tu pe xie ju pa ri xie ba da bu duwa ta Shatu sembi tolan, julan, tolan, golan jete. Ju pari de jimba ta du ngobu je. Jimba tang, henba ma tang, dun xue dun tun. Gongba tang, gongba le zunba sha wus. Wat rubi chiba to wat yin sama. Tenne le kaso re, ta chungun de da chu jiba jiba song de sheba lang, tuanda kangal wat ten du dan da mdu.
So then now we have number 10, offering of practice. And if we look at this category, we can find that this really condenses the entire meaning of Atisha's lamp for the path to enlightenment, and that introductory stanza that says, understand that there are persons of three capacities, small, middling, and great. I shall write clearly identifying their characteristics, or define these very clearly for you. So then here, this is an offering of practice. So here it says, entail recollecting the four immeasurables referring to the prayer, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, may all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, may all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that knows no suffering, may all sentient beings live in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. And then the fourfold condensation of the teaching, or the four spheres of the teaching, all compound phenomena are impermanent. All contaminated things are suffering, or here are miserable. All phenomena are selfless, and nirvana is bliss and peace. So here, this is the fourfold, condensing all of the teachings into 4 points. Then the three, so the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and the perfections, the 6 perfections, the 10 perfections, admiring profound emptiness and fixing on it without conceptualization. So one achieves a non-conceptual understanding of emptiness through first achieving the wisdom arisen from listening, and then the wisdom arisen from contemplation. And then through that contemplation, one arrives at a union of calm abiding and special insight, and then through wisdom arisen from meditation, one has a direct perception of emptiness, a non-conceptual perception. So this is how one fixes on it without conceptualization, through those stages of practice to non-conceptualization related to emptiness, or direct perception, if you will. Disciplining your mind through the vows of ethical discipline, the various moralities get put forth by the Buddha of the individual liberation moralities, the bodhisattva moralities, the tantric moralities, and meditating on and striving for the factors of enlightenment. Here this is referring to the various factors of enlightenment. In the Abhisammalamkara in the 4th chapter, we find the 34 factors of enlightenment, the 37 factors of enlightenment, and the 39 factors of enlightenment. So we find it divided into 37, 34, and 39 different factors of enlightenment. So we can say that those are what it's referring to. And meditating on and striving, the perfections. So going back, the 37 are related to the learners, the 34 to bodhisattvas, and the 39 to the Buddhas. Those are the factors of enlightenment. And then the perfections, causal perfection and resultant perfection. So causal perfection referring to the 4 first Mahayana paths, the path of accumulation, the path of preparation, the path of seeing, and the path of meditation. And then the resultant perfections, the perfection which is the stage of no more learning. So these would be the resultant perfections. So I'm not sure if I'm going to repeat it. If Rinpoche didn't say it, I apologize. And we find those in this mantra, Jata Om Gate Gate Para Sangati Bodhisoha, the 4 ways to gather disciples. So here we find one gathers disciples through generosity, one gathers disciples through speaking with a kind voice, speaking sweetly. One gathers disciples by only acting for their benefit, or looking only to benefit them. And one gathers disciples by engaging in the practices that one is saying to engage in, by living the stages that oneself, or actually applying the practices oneself, is the literal, applying the practices oneself. So these are the 4 ways to gather disciples. And then it says, all for at least as long. So do this with great effort, is what it should read. So do this with a great amount of effort. The word that for effort or perseverance in the perfections is used in the text in the Lamrim Chenmo, and says to do this with great effort. Digsum.
Ta choba choba te kunchu songla choba ne yongsu zubi choba wos. Choba shawa na shebi samba ni le tombala chules. Samba chut choba chudrendo. Kola choba chudela choba la soba. Choba te kunchu songla choba te yongsu zubi choba sare.
Yongsu zubi choba.
Saji tombo te junchu Abbot abari mari sare. Junchu dan yongsu zubi choba shawa. Ta shebi samba so tane ba ta gi chobi che shebi samba so wandane yongdo ta shebi samba konju son choba begi na pen shebi chedare chujun jil mambi ba ina de bu chebu yongres ta gi chobi tsanas ta gi wara wata chuji jusana.
The jipa, giant sheba sache jipa.
This shebi samba somba.
Oh, somba. Oh, gonga me.
Tomba te
the hako.
Tomba junchu je.
Gombe me chi.
Niba choba shawa. Kala chuje te niba je. Ana somba shebi samba.
Lesso gombe chi.
Somba dre.
Lesso. So then it says to make these 10 types of offerings to the 3 jewels is to make a complete offering. So a whole offering, or an offering that isn't missing anything. So if it has these 10, make these 10 types of offerings to the 3 jewels is to make a complete offering. The second aspect of offering, the attitude. So if we look at the outline of Jayan Sheba's outline, we find this to be the third. First is the constant, or the offering made every time. The second is the action of offering, and then the third is the attitude of offering. So here in this, it says the attitude is as follows. When you make these 10 types of offerings, there are 6 attitudes that will render immeasurable the result of even a small offering to any of the 3 jewels. So you make offerings with the thoughts that.
What the casa the dog chubitsana, conju son la chungushi shejan, de pas de mabanju, samba the truth is, that pen on the center Chudua. When they see Kona Mabai, Conju Somba, they see Kona Mabai, so tell the Chuba Chujil Mabibaina, Pen Chibun, Tambuche, Pendu Kona Mabai, so and the Chuba Chujil Mabina, Pen Chibun, Sentient touches true in so and the Chuba Chujil Mabina, Pen Chibun. Udon are Matuta Shindu Kumba in Sultan and the Jabba Chujil Mambina, Pen Chabuyungris. Donson Jiton Jemmy Jiden Jikan Ji Konan and John Way, Bajiba Winchambasa. Jiden Jikan, Sonji Jima to Nipel Maris, Jin and Hajin Messers. What things are water? Tant the Jiden de Mandeji, Pansu Batanji, Je, Conjus on the Jiden de Mande Taji Pansu, Jane Sonsan, tell the Chuba Chujil Mabibaina, Pen Chabuyungris, what they something is that.
So here, the second aspect of offering, the attitude is as follows. When you make these 10 types of offerings, there are 6 attitudes that will render the result of even a small offering to any of the 3 jewels. Render immeasurable the result of even a small offering to the 3 jewels. So if one has this attitude, even if it's a little offering, the results will be in a measurable accumulation of merit. So one should have in mind these reasons that it is so beneficial to make offerings, to make these 10 types of offerings. So here it says there is no higher field of good qualities. There is no higher benefactor. There's no one who wishes to benefit more. He is the best of all living beings. He is extremely rare, like a Udambara flower. Since only one Buddha appears in a universe of 3 billion world systems, he is the only one, and he's the foundation of all mundane and super mundane, or worldly and out of worldly good.
This way. Oje tatene ta janje betin ma saje chudde ngjo dambu saje dambu je junche je niba de choba shawa de juro 용수 주비 choba de niba je ene shebi samba tanda pya na ne chojindoa de shebi samba somba je jema je de saje de somba ba doa telman janje be chudde ne chosong zong
Then Jepa, the Chupa Chonwa.
Jepa that Duji Chaba, Jepa Duji Chaba, or that is Chancel Jepa. What the
Chupa Chonwa?
That Junchu down Chuba Shawa, Shebi Samba to so, Jim Majikava Dusana. Papa to me chanson blues. Chanson c'est l'un by son. What about the Sandra?
Lesser.
That the man Jaji be Saji Juganon Tamil Lemurta. Duji Chaba. And Chaba the Kadipu. Nearby the Goody, Chedan, Sanjil Chaba Kadipu. Duji Chaba the Marbe. Duji Chaba Ness did what Tuji Chaban, what the Saji Jibatere, Tuji Chaban, Tada Jedeba Shala Asa, Tada Jumban, Tada Jedeba Shala, Tuzan Dan, to change the Sena rank in Yobatan, Tumba Chaba Zambur Shaus, what the Janjebe, they Tuji Chabatan was, nearby the Koti, Chetan Dan, Sanjil Kadicho was. Jundo and the Kanto to Chubambus. Saganda wala sobe duchen kozore choba zambur bus what the tengu waras they do choba tengu is
So here it says, I have written about these 10 types of offerings and 6 attitudes as they appear in the Bodhisattva level. So according to Asanga's text, the Bodhisattva Bhumis, it says, you should always make the best offering you can. Make especially good offerings on auspicious occasions and holidays to the best of your ability. So here in the outline of Jayan Sheba, this comes into the fourth category that will begin a set of 10 points, making for the total of 13. And this number 4 deals with the time of offering, the best time of offering. And here it's saying auspicious occasions and holidays. So during important times, one makes offerings, and it makes them more powerful. So during the time of Sakardawa, the time of the Lama Tsong-kha-pa time, and so forth. It's particularly important time. Do Chenmo time or a great time is the when one makes especially good offerings because of the power of that day. So this is number 4. So the first is the continuous offering, the second action of offering, the third attitude of offering, and then the fourth is the time of offering. Furthermore, since you constantly, so this is number 5, which is a small offering that becomes vast. If I said before that was after 3, I made the mistake of reading the part that's similar, that sounds similar to that. So it's actually is number 5 is the small offering that becomes vast. So continuous offering, action of offering, attitude of offering, the time of offering, and then small offering that becomes vast. So these are the 5 according to Jayan Sheba's commentary and his outline related to this section. So it says, since you constantly have to eat and drink, always offer the first portion of your food and drink. If you do this without fail, you will easily amass a large accumulation of merit. Thus, from the depths of your heart, always offer the first portion of whatever you consume. So, a small offering that easily amasses a large accumulation of merit. So this is the number 5 category.
Du sewan dawa re mon she sharaye sondule jongos ta tege madabi choba tengu yosa madabi choba wo tege jaje be wo te madabi choba tengu yosa an tu jongos dang azu barabas dan lan chu dan wo te kala roba tu peba ina madabi choba re no tu jongos ngazu peba ina chora la chora ten ruta wa ten la gre an seru ju tan khala ruju wa tu piju maris ta kante morun wa tu piju ma te mada bu chubare ndres wa tu so dinsar.
So the next is categorically number 6, not offering that which is inappropriate offering, or tainted, I saw somewhere else, or inappropriate. So then here it says, there's a quote from Sharawa. It says, furthermore, Sharawa stated, I think you read it, I'm sorry. Do not offer things such as moldy cheese, yellowed leaves, but use what you have that is good. Offering the first portion of tea will not be beneficial. It is done like clearing away some dust. So here, an inappropriate offering, for instance, would be something that's rotten. So if one has cheese that's rotten, or something that's rusted, that making an offering, something that's not nice, something that's old, but in the sense of being ruined, just so that when I say that, it's in the sense of being rusty or contaminated or moldy or rotten. So these are the things that categorically fall under the inappropriate or the tainted offering. So this was number 6 in Jayan Sheba's outline.
What the Choba de Madab Chobarendua, that Dumba de Chobala Kubitu, the Pena, Shinsa Shinto, Shinsa Shindu Shenpa Shila, Sabun de Dusu Mata Par Duban Rana, the then Jumapeba Tar Jumapeba Tar, and the she delay Tanji Jin Yu, and then Shinsa Tamba, and then Tuji Tanji Do, Juche Meba, delay Sabun Tabi, Chubandela, Debi, Shuji, Sona Chi Meba Juji, Dole Somba Tar. Shaju Majuna, Shindu Pomba Inos, Tena Hayu Hatu Les, Hayu Hatu Le, Choton da Shintane, Jiden Suna, Machete, Chen Jine, Naji Chu, Tezan Dibitamala, Nakatatu Machibi, Choton Shinta, Chetawa, Chola Menta, Nejibi, Nabapeba Gamachi, Shesumba Tarote. Chobala Kubitu Tengoyes, Chobala Kubitu, Tangazo, Shinka Shenbasana, Shinka Doja Tendue, Shinka Doja Le, Sabunko, Gugaton Jagmarvota, Gugaton Jagmaritane, Samarta Umarbe, Samarta, Tenseland, don't do me, Sadus Langulo. Pata du Gungata, Selandule. Mami can never in the Pema to Januro. Then I think I to Gawagi got the poses into this. Ya Gun and Negaza. Ya Gun poses anything I do and the Butchupio. Butchupio is Butchupio and the Kantu Jetu gate and Gawab do what is. Give Sabati Abata waters. Teta Matubaje and Hanata ne, and the Sandal Sumbata, you want shoes. Hanata Tabazan, you are Tutuja de la Guayab Dumatubaina, Pomberis. What the Marbe?
Rinpoche, they don't Tambo Chapagare. Tambo the Dakpar Chupabu. Giant Sheba, the Sache. Tambo non Dumba Chapagare. The Dakpar, the Yakadan, the Dakpar Chupabu. Then Tambo Dakpar Chupabu, the Chapagare Rinpoche.
That the
Tambo
process in the Shinhal Pajang, good bill.
Lesser.
Good butcher bill.
Lesser.
Good butcher bill process,
Lesser.
Process then Goag Sabati Abato.
Lesser.
Tautubaina, and then Asul Kanchabu is.
Lesser.
Tetama Tubaina, Honataba Tanjigitene. Yabu Maris, Pomberis, what is one the Marbe?
So then it says, for example, it will not work just to put seeds on a fertile field without actually planting them in season. So this is a field is a bad field if it's not in the right season. Basically, it doesn't say a fertile field is a bad field. It just says a field is bad if it's not in the right season. It's not fertile if it's not in the right season, implying that even if it's fertile, it's not fertile in the right season. But so it is appropriate. So it is actually planted. So it is appropriate continuously to plant the seeds of temporary happiness and certain goodness throughout the 4 seasons in the fertile field that gives rise to all temporary happiness and certain goodness in this and future lives. But you till this field with the plow of faith. So here, one can accumulate virtuous activities in all 4 seasons. So the field of merit, in this case, is always fertile, even in winter, spring, summer, and fall. It's not just fertile at one point in time. So one is able to plant virtuous seeds constantly in this fertile field. And I asked Rinpoche what the distinction was between the first one, if people were wondering, which is continuous offering, and then the 7th one, which seems to be a continuous offering, but it's related to the field, the fertility of the field of offering that one is making, and that that fertility is there. It's a good field at all times to plant these seeds of virtue in. So it's related to the actual objects of offering being a fertile field to accumulate virtue in at all times. as opposed to just making this offering continuously every time. I hope that clarifies it a little bit. I'm seeking more clarification, so hopefully I can get it a little bit better. But it doesn't read in the English and the Tibetan, so it's a little bit hard. And then the Tama dondagare, the tepa, the chera molanja, the gare sumpare. The molan, the tepa.
and Giyu Shinka, horses and Marve. Duji Tanji do, Junji member, Delege, Sabian Tabi, Chubas, Deleg Sabian, and the Yadutan and Gungaltan and Tunhaltan degrees.
Lassa.
What the Malaja, what the Toad Majuba Ina, and the Pombres. And the Abu Yunus Malata. Dole somba naji ya du to gundu to ne process de goya bu dua majuna pombres what is sumude
mola mena
mola ja ya bu yong shu se mola zang ju wa yo ma ro ta te ya ka gunga de goya bu du ga ma du ba je mola ja ba zu wa yo ma ro ta ya ka to gunga de goya bu du sabe ya ta wu de sabe ma da ba je mola ja ba.
Okay, so just by making the way that the meaning of this, but you till this field with a plow of faith is a little different, I think. And I'm going to seek more clarification, but it sounds like just making a prayer for these things to happen won't be enough. One has to put these seeds into this field, winter, spring, summer, and fall. So almost like faith without works. I think that's the meaning of it. I'm sorry to do that, but it seems like it's just having this faith and aspiration isn't enough. One needs to plow this field. It's almost like faith isn't enough. One needs to plow the field also. Something along those lines. That's I kept asking. It seems like that's the essence of the meaning of it. Rinpoche, chutsu jedan kama ju. So we'll take a short break. Okay, Rinpoche.
Shinsa Shenba said, "What the little chat them at the door." The song to me. When I Shinka Doja Jubaina, Shinka Doja Jubaina, and Shinka don't do up top. To Sul Matavache, do Maragon Dubaina, and then Shinka don't do up your Manajan.
So if you sit in front of a field and you don't plant it in a time that you want to plant that is appropriate, because it's the wrong season, then it's an infertile field. So it's considered a bad field. Even if you stand in front of that field and make a prayer for it to grow and be fertile, it will not be.
But example.
This example.
Then the pause is at the Goya Maruba, pause is at the and the Goya Madruba.
So it's not a fertile field if you don't plant the seeds of virtue in it. Even if you have this fertile field that is fertile, winter, spring, summer, and fall, just making a prayer, may virtue come to me, winter, spring, summer, and fall, will not produce the effects. One has to plant the seeds of virtue in that field. This is the meaning of that.
That's really excellent translation. Yeah, that makes sense.
That then trouble could to the water. That then Jenap and trouble of Ambassa, Jenap and Tandem Mater. There's Madumudua.
What are we doing?
Shingi Chula Tamabi Shingi Tonza Mabane, Uge, Tazawa, Mandupe, don't you Chabala, two Tanjeto, Jamba Shaus, what they get Jenapan and Chabal Jambas, what the Marva. Tanga Sanji Gonju, Chugonju, Gonju, Chabamizaki, and Shin Abin about the Ishi Mebaji. And the Ishi Mebaji, you larger than Namatandilla, and Chubabugi in the Ishin of the Chibaida, and what the Yuayu Masa Marbe. She Chula Tamebi, she Gitunza Mebanes, she Chu Conju Sombutala, Tamebi Chebi, Ulajidana Matanegi Tonza Mebane, and then Natul Yabu maybe Taris, Uki, Tao Zawa, Mandubi, don't you Chobala, do Tanjid, Chambashaus, Choba to Conjul Pugores, Conjul to San Jamajaba in Susan, Sona, Badama Yungures, Chambashaus, what day, Tenapan and Chobala Chambashaus, what there is. Oh, the Jilaja and Maria.
That's good.
Jeba, Jenapone, Chobala Chumbasa. Jenapone son duta, Conjus on the Chubishi, Yashut Tene, Tel Chubaburis, Conjus on the Le, Tom Mebaje, and the Chuba, Chui Jendal Tensan on the Royal Mothers. Conjus on Chubaburis, what this thing is.
So I just have to read through this. If you do not do this, you will be extremely poor in merit. Hence, as the praise and honor of one worthy of praise. No field of merit like you exists in the three worlds. You are the supreme recipient of gifts. You, the pure one who makes a robe amongst pure. Just as the height and breadth of the firmament have no limit, there is no limit to the fruition of helping you or harming you. I didn't read that before. Rinpoche just read it. Since our practice is such that we cannot even think of a supreme field of merit as we would an ordinary field, so we are not thinking of the supreme field of merit as an ordinary field because it's constantly fertile, we should always strive to make offerings to the three jewels. So we should continuously make offerings to this supreme field of merit all the time. By doing so, our mind's power with respect to the stages of the path will increase as a result of the strength of the roots of virtue grown in this excellent field of merit.
Lange rimba nala lui to jeje dunruis lui to jeje dunru ane nyena chimizin sana tomogo guna jula meji lui to shindu chonyu tuzo sing tola temba menga yinos sing tola temba menga yinos Sing tola them manga in that thing sang to them there, Nazu Mamara Jena Lulu Kalikabres. Zina Lumazin, Niana Tomo, Sana Tomogo, Guna Julumeche, Dusele, and the conjunction sing tola tene, and Nazuji Yuaramatu, Kalikabres, sing conjunction Sanja Majava and Telchuba Beata, Jasun Reata, or Telegina. And the Abu was Sing Tola Temba.
Powerful.
Sing Tola
Jepa, the giant Sheba Sache Gare?
Jeba Deibatana.
Rama.
And Shingi Chula, Tamebi Shingi Tonza Mabane, Woki Tazan Mandupe, Conju Chobala Du. Okay, so the eighth category then is that it's not an ordinary, it's a supreme, making offerings to the supreme field. So here it says we cannot even think of a supreme field of merit as we would an ordinary field. We should always strive to make offerings to the three jewels. So making them to the supreme, so this quote before it, no field of merit exists like you, etc., etc. So this is making an offering to the supreme field. And then the ninth category, Gopa, the Mingare. Gopa Tetar Chubis, and the Conjus on the Le, and the Chubi Shin Chuyimba, the Santane, Conjus on Chubabugina, and the Karuyungore, dendru yungore, taba yungore, sanji kuhu yungore, so descended. They tell Shena, Shin Tambala, Gaza Jambesa, Conjus and Chebi, she should to San Dane, till Chobambuya, Josundre, or to Chebaina, Shin Tambala, then Gaza Jambi, Toles, and Masul Kari yungore, large Rembana, low Jesun Ruiz, and the long river to Kalea James, Kalea James, Jejetun Rue, and then Niana Timisi, Niana Timisi, son of Tomosa, and the son to Son of the Nasu Tene, Lulazing in a Kumamara two Maruda, Sound on the Tondaku Maris, Gona Julie, Gona Julie Maji. Louis Toshindo, Chong to the Song to Tabule, and the Shinga Tula Temba the Mengaris, Shinga Tula Temba, Consul on Chobambu in the Abuyungure, Johnson in the Abuyungure, Matu Jean G. Casure, Masu Nubasha, Shinga Tula Temba.
So the next is to rely on the power of the field of merit. This is the 9th point. So here, it says, by doing so, our mind's power with respect to the stages of the path, one's ability to engage in the stages of the path that lead to the higher realms, the stages of the path that lead to liberation, the stages of the path that lead to complete Buddhahood, will increase as a result of the strengths of the roots of virtue grown in this excellent field of merit. It says, therefore, when our mind's power is so weak that we cannot retain words when we study, so for instance, we can't memorize the things that we're studying, it says, understand the meaning when we reflect. So if we think about these things, we don't understand them very well. Or gain knowledge when we meditate. When our mind's power is so weak that we cannot retain the words when we study, understand the meanings when we reflect, or gain knowledge when we meditate. So if we're not accomplishing anything through our meditation, then it says we should rely on the power of the field of merit. So recognizing that we make aspirational prayers, make offerings to this field of merit, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and so forth. Respect them and so forth. And by doing so, we will be able to increase our abilities to memorize, understand, and meditate on these things. So this is number 9, relying on the power of the field of merit.
Shingi Tula Temangaramatu Lani Tawaji Marbe, Shingi Tula Temangaramatu, Kunjun Koaku, Julnurs and Azukawatu, Shingi Tula Temba, Kashi Tene, Tabi Jutan, Sajiko to Jutan Rover Matu, Monchevatene, Koaluka Junu Deris, Shingi Tula Temba, Gaji Tene, Tabi Jutan, Sajiko to Junu, Tawujilji or doesn't Rabudu.
So other things that we put. So the other things that we put our faith in do not allow us to gain anything but samsara. So more of cyclic existence, whereas this field of merit has the power to allow us to transcend samsara and achieve the state of liberation or Buddhahood. Oh, okay.
Tamoko Shiruba Kebashiraje, and the Shiruba Galtune, Shiruba Pomajene, and the Amalitaco Kebashira is the Kulumbal, then the Shiruba Galo Kan, then the Katama Zuva is Amala do Tanachu Keba Revmati, Chukeba in the Naletan Rus, Amako Nalata, Nalata, and what the Coporota, and what Tune. Middletown upon and Lubin Bow Charo, Lubin Bow. Ta Lubin Bow go what they, Shingi Tola Dambate, Shida Keshu Bate, Lubin Bow, you know, Dramadua.
So here, this from Sri Marchketa, and this is Arya Shura, who was a non-Buddhist, that his mother said to him to go, if you are the greatest scholar around, then you should go to Nalanda and debate the Buddhist monks there, because they are the holders of the greatest scholars around are the masters at Nalanda. So he went to Nalanda and ended up debating Aryadeva, and Aryadeva defeated him in debate, and then he was converted to Buddhism and then sang praises to the Bhagavan constantly. And here is a quote where he's doing that. So first he was Lopun Pao was initially a non-Buddhist. Pelden Maku, Chipa.
Okay,
Tuchina. So then there's a quote that through relying on the Buddhist he was originally non-Buddhist, and through relying on the Buddhist doctrine was able to see the error in the previous views. So then we find the quote. By depending on you, Bhagavan, my mind, though weak, has broadened like a river in the rainy season, attaining great skill in composing poetry. So my skill here, Aryashura is stating that through depending upon the Buddha, his ability, his intelligence and skill in composing poetry has become great. Previously, he was a non-Buddhist whose mind, it says, was weak, but then broadened, became greater or more intelligent, like a river when it's raining. So a river becomes greater very quickly when the rain comes. The river expands or becomes greater or bigger when the rain comes. It rises. In the same way, Aryashura is saying, by depending upon you, Buddha, my mind's abilities, intelligence, my skill to compose poetry has risen.
ngobla matu rangi tebala tuba insomba tar teba yona mende ta chutan on le mazon yu chebala suba matu ta shin la so tu jiro subi jan chebe chube sanze mena ta ta sa bia mendu na wote je gores me mena ane da mazon matu ta shin ta ane jen je so yana je gores bia yejin tu tan jen diga mari sunde yejin do ton menu ba da que sona meditation de chebe ne da la jamachi chez sawane podu chene ton bur jamachi shito bombur taune zenen kabur pujicho chez meloki medela mogu somba tan rawo sa o da ka sugure o de 소소 여진도 어때 마피바 제때네 가서그래 안에 변함들 지사네 어때 신념을 가진 데잖아 미롱하게 미역은 고고 담아다 버렸을 때 야분 와요 소 여봐도 피고르스 여봐도 마피바 제 아니 도자 비는 어때 너한 지지부터 너봐요 네 미롱하게
So it is taught that offerings are not determined by the material objects offered, but by your faith. Thus, if you do not have material possessions to offering, then offerings of mandalas and water or of things not held as property and the like will suffice if you have faith. Some have possessions but are unable to give them up, quoting the verse, I have no merit, I am very poor, I have no other wealth for offerings. This is, as Botoa said, like a blind person trying to fool a sighted person by dropping a bit of sod incense into a smelly conch cup and saying, this is water scented with sandalwood and camphor. Here, so first it says, if you don't have material possessions, you can make offerings of things unowned as rivers, mountains, etc. And also, one can make mandala offerings and then also rejoice, as previously stated, in the offerings that others have made in order to accumulate stores of merit. So here, this is the meaning of that. And then the Malua, they don't nagare,
black
blind. You need the don't nagare, the boo. The donagare.
That's also prayer yobaje.
Lasso.
Pida prayer yobaje, ma yobaje.
Lasso.
You tajaje the tajaje sa. Anu what the hijab mamaduna. Zenet to jib bishus the mama hijab shibi abunga never yena. Me long made go who don't but jibaris. The Abbot and Zamukariba, Khensur Chenrezig Marbe. Khensur me you can double this. And what the not what the main one of this.
Less so.
So you have to Mabibaji and the Tajaju, and then what the Shibunga is, Dubayina, Milwage, maintain Google Domada this.
The Chupa Yomari, Gangasin and the Chala Sheda Yomari, Dane Susan Chupa Bu, Tulamari, Chomari. Dene? Sanjay Chandu.
Kurun Choba Yobaje,
Less so.
Mabibaje, Choba Dojaju. And then
okay. Cell show. Injiki Selyamari. Tuchena. So here, the meaning, I'm just going to say the meaning behind this first. So if it's saying that if you have offerings to make, but you say, I can't make them because I just can't afford to or whatever, it's because the Buddha is all-knowing. The Buddha knows that you do have this offering. So it's not appropriate to make a dirty lesser offering and saying, listen, I can't make any other offering than this, because the Buddha knows you have more to offer than that. It's like making a blind person making an offering in front of sight, someone who can see what they're offering, and puts some of this dust into something dirty, and then tries to pass it off as something very wonderful, and then does all these special prayers and so forth to make it look as though something wonderful's happening, but the person can see what just happened. Likewise, the Buddha can see what you're doing, so it's not appropriate to offer these things that aren't as good if you have the things that are good, because the Buddha knows. So it says here, if you say, as I have no merit, I am very poor, I have no other wealth for offerings, this is, as Botoa said, like a blind person trying to fool a sighted person by dropping a bit of sod incense into a smelly conch cup and saying, this is water scented with sandalwood and camphor. So in front of a sighted person, they put some of this dust into something very dirty and say, no, this is wonderful, it really is. So this would be the same as offering something lesser when you really have something more to offer, because the Buddhas are all-knowing. So that's it.
What the guba guba?
Then the mingare, the guba. Donda haku the giant sheba the sache guba mingare.
That is in the Shin Tambala Gata Shin Tambala Gata. Shin Tambala Gata Shin Tamba Conjuson Latin Chubambu Gawasa Gures. What the Reja. What the mean was what they to Pidget inside Gubati inside. That Juba the Puchun says in Dua. Juba the know what the
Making offerings no matter what, I think, is number 9. Making them no matter what, I think, is number 9. I'm going to get the exact. I'm going to look at the Tibetan and get the exact name. So, constant actions, attitude, time, small becomes big, inappropriate, fertile field, supreme, and then supreme. Power. Oh, the power of the field. Okay. And then our 10.
Choba chichung de sangi chebara madu, ngobu cheba yina choba cheba yimi cheba yo mares. Ngobu chichung yina choba chichung yimi cheba yo mares. Sangi cheba res. Sangi shangshu ge sangi tang, wa tanda ge yoba yina, anu ngobu chichung jima biya meba yina, choba cheba chanu go ziro da. Choba cheba yina, kulung ko shangshu ge sangi la suba, yabu mena, choba cheba rega mena ziro.
Juba.
Juba.
So the 10th is the motivation. So here it says faith. So 10th is the motivation. So even if one, for instance, makes a very small offering, but he or she has a mind imbued with the bodhicitta, for instance, then it becomes a more powerful offering or a greater offering. So this is the motivation behind the offering, the gulung, the motivation, this section that we just went through.
What the Pachu is in Netambo Pompu Hansa Tingo Pu, Tene Rebo, Jeju Nation Bujushon, Tata Agarotan, Torkala Soba, Sonching, Bu Sombatare, Choba Chungla, Hene, Mapuna. Ne Tserambu Tenda Shitun Drola Chori ne Neten Chena Jazandun Drui Kongi Shalentar Laude and Rangi Kongi Regila Sesan Nishutani Ji Pujakis
Lasso.
What about the Samarba? Pajunshi Takate Choban Buyadal Dando Abache was Dando J, and the Susa Abu Pugina, and the Kukaleka Jungles, Punjuki, Shinlo Latene, Jungles, the Mabina, Sarambat and Susu Jude, Kambachanogres, what is one thing said. Pachunga Gitambo Putal, Penjushida Medula, we Kansan Pugujero. The Lebu Conchester Dana, and the Sugar Seed and Mamugun, what the Pachunga Natana Jebus.
The name this giant shape of Sache, Gare, de
Sajil the Redua
Jupiter,
Chaba Chujon Suji, Chabara Sanji Chaba,
the Juchi,
Juba,
Gulung. Okay, so the 10th, which is motivation, I just heard the words even more clearly. I think it's the mental offering. The mental offering. So the motivate, which is the motivation, but it's the mental offering. Sem chupa. So mental offering. So here it says, Puchonwa said, first I gave sod incense with a sharp odor. Next I obtained sweet smelling, long sticks of incense made from the 4 substances to give. Now I give aromatic, akara, teruska, and the like. Thus, so these are expensive things. Thus, if you despise small offerings and do not give them, your entire life will pass in that way. However, if you make earnest effort in stages, beginning with small things, conditions will improve. You should practice as Puchonwa did. It is said that on one occasion he made a preparation of incense worth 22 gold coins. So one should, no matter what one has, make offerings to the 3 jewels. And in the case of Puchonwa, one, because of the blessings that one will receive from the objects of one's offering, the 3 jewels, one's material abilities to make offerings will increase. So in the case of Punchonwa, he was very poor initially and only had the worst things to offer. Not the worst, but bad things or things not of as good to offer. And then he was gradually able, because of the blessings of the field of merit he was offering to obtain better and better material things to make offerings of. And then it says there's a story of him actually taking a large amount. Here the number is 22 gold coins and purchasing incense with those gold coins and making an offering of that. So Rinpoche said that's a very large amount of incense, expensive incense that is being explained here, bought with 22 gold coins. And this falls under the mental offering, which is motivation.
신탕지 주연네 자완나라 깨버도마 처번제나스 연대다나 중세레 초셰바자 코네 됐다고 샤추머르시 마와 추지신도 총유 어줄로스 단데스도 단데
Senchupa Juchigare. The Juni Jupa Senchupa Juchigare Ming Jansheba Juchipa
Jujiba도 Jujiba도 저거 유명하다 포충아 주지발장에도 때 수되나도 다이나 다른 것도 없이네 제망에서 지대나 말이야
decent then nge laga mare jemangatsu. So we're going to go over there's a possibility that the Jayan Sheba's outline, Rinpoche is going to go over it and come back with the Jayan Sheba outline. It's because I was going over the numbers in order. The next point has to deal with the increase of offerings, offering even the smallest that you have, and then the example of what will happen if you do so. That's going to be in a category. And then we move on to the great beings who have gained, Rinpoche read this, great beings who have gained control over material things emanate many hundreds of thousands of bodies, each of which in turn emanates hundreds of thousands of hands. Visiting all the Buddha realms, they make the offerings to the conquerors for many eons. They do all this while others settle for small achievements that look good and say, I do not expect enlightenment through making offerings. This is nonsense. This is the nonsense of those who have little exposure to the teaching. This is the next section. The Sache Nala, the Chupa.
Chupa Juji Tel Chuderamdu. Taina Juni do Teresha Juni. Juni what the Chushi Sheba Gabasa, Chushi Sheba. Chushi. And the Chuba Shadambu Maris, you know, to the Jiggers. Those Lana what the Jigamaris. Want to be in the Shanchu Samba, the judge on Batsuke, and the Le Montra Mountain, the Sanji Shinkanzu, Chubambuaris, and then Asu Chuba Chuji, being Chushi Cheju Maris. What did they do? Usually I want to be Samba Chambonaji, Le Montra Tomato Batans, usually I want to be the Shanchu Samba, the judge on Batsuke, Le Montra Mountain Batan, Le Zelaya. Laba Jadon la Suba Tude, Sanji Juene, Joanna la Kiabatoma, Chobambuaris, Chobam Budebaina, and then Dana Re Chushebata, and then Dana Regota Chobatagandigrisana, Chushebata, Coolness, Ne, Tatabula, Shanchu Marishim Hawane. So
here this is saying that one should stop this idea that I'm just making I'm settling for small offerings because one doesn't get enlightened through offering. But then they show examples of great beings who are already realized, bodhisattvas and so forth, who make offerings in vast ways. It says, great beings who have gained control over material things emanate many hundreds of thousands of bodies, each of which in turn emanates hundreds of thousands of hands. Visiting all the Buddha realms, they make offerings to the conquerors for many eons. They can do all this. So they do this, while others are satisfied with only making a little bit of offering because they say, I won't become enlightened through making offerings. But these great beings are making these vast offerings all the time. So we can see the difference. So that's it's a wrong idea to have, to think that I won't become enlightened through making offerings, because we see examples of the great beings who do so for a reason. So that's the breakdown of the meaning on that. And that's going to be a 12th point. We're going to go over these the number. Now it'll be 13. It'll be the last point, and we'll re-go over all of them. He said.
노들 송샤부터 죽는걸로 로종진은 초반부야 네바도 고도 수야부 내고르스 네진스 대다 니 타바네 셰소나 니 타바네 라비 삼베 추기 사제의 상주 삼만으로 공우스 공화야 부제고레스
주심바 공화
단도든 나래 초바다를 자체보 강이마 다 노든 나래 안에 사제를 초반부야다 and Rendo, Jachembo, Sonyoro, the Zukanalo, Yabashegures, near but the good to Isamarba.
Oh, okay.
To see Yabashebaje, to see Abashebaje, near jeans, Tada Ni Taban and near but the good to so, Sabi Samba, Chuki, Sanji the Shanchu Samano, who was Sanji the Shanchu Samba to Mugus in Saraba, Huajigures, Chubambu, Huajibamento.
We're dedicating the offering. It's 13. So it says, thus we should do as it says in the Cloud of Jewels Sutra. Study any of the vast offerings and acts of service in the sutras such as these. And with supreme heartfelt resolve, sincerely dedicate these offerings and acts of service before the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. So dedicating these offerings, the dedication of offering in the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And it says, study any of the vast offerings, and then it gives you examples, offerings of wealth and service. So the vast offerings and acts of service, we go back, we find offerings of wealth and service. So we find that Lama Tsong-kha-pa is saying the offerings of wealth and service just presented, we find in the sutras. So study those, and then make them, and then with a heartfelt resolve, with a serious or fierce resolve, then dedicate this in the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
Tatana was the Chuba young mobula Maturangi, Tebala Tuba, what in my Chuba the Jujin Chitrujan, Najanga Tajuji, Tajujin Jamalis.
Juba Sem Chupa, Lama, Matsusum.
What an Aduji Lazarwa?
Then the Chu Jan Sheba Kabija to do it, Inji Kezu to dictionary da Inji Kezu. Jan Sheba Kabija. Okay, then it is. Then it is Anima Inji Kezu. So the 10th and the 11th, we seem to have a mix-up somehow, which causes an error in enumeration. So we're going to get back to the exact order of the 13 next time. And Rinpoche said he can make a copy of the text for me so I can look all the order up in the dictionary. So there are 13 points that are going to be made. So the first is the constant offering. The second is the action of offering. Third is the attitude of offering. Fourth is time. Fifth is a small offering that becomes vast. Medapa. Dapa. It's drupa. Chura, ducha, dang.
다 신당발라 그자서 지도 지초도 셔대 알레 어디 말에 다 줘봐 주중 뭐불러 마도 senji cheba yeju ngabarendo ngabarendreba
chupa chon
chuba ngobula matuba rangi te bala tuba yinse watenma te chudja
the drupa chishin
da den kare
then gave the dictionary then zanima ngatsu
ne odlu
so we'll go back over it on this Sunday of next week.
뒤지 쳐봐지 최종은 투점을 두비 쳐봐지 전에 마다비 쳐봐지 쳐봐라 급이 뒤지 쳐봐라 급이 뒤지 전에 신 담바 신 타면발라 통장 매바서야 돼 지레도아
Supreme Tameba Doshu
톨치가 톨라데면 맹아 이노스데 표면 바이로는 어떻게 지내죠 어떤가 때 추자
okay the Disung let's see this Samazu Chishina Disung Karma Jiyure Triwa
okay
you have a question Sasha he said he'd answer a question
two but one hold on.
Where is it going to be in the book? So if I need to look at the Tibetan before we get on live.
Really short, page 201. My first question is on page 201. It says at the end of the first paragraph, this is a personal instruction. I'd just like a little bit more information about that sentence. And also, I might have it mixed up, but the virtue that we create is due to the enlightened activities of the exalted wisdom body. Why do we create non-virtue then? Or I understand seeds and imprints of karma, but does that make sense?
That's a gewa yena this the yishi chuku chenle in cha. The chenle in cha. Then kon triwa then garshin that's a megewa yure. Megewa gari the gewa sanje chenle. That's a megewa gare. Nyomo Tenzin. The enlightened deeds of the grasping at true establishment are what causes non-virtue. So Rinpoche is joking, but it's the enlightened. The Tenzin is the grasping at true establishment. So the enlightened, the activities of grasping at true establishment are what causes the non-virtue, or what are the non-virtue. So going back to this is a personal instruction. So we made a slight mistake before, but in the future we're going to go back over this so that it's not mistaken any longer. So 1 second, I can find this. I gotta find the Tibetan. 151. This is at 152. The Lungkab is Samna Dumiko. The Lungkabare. The Lopum Pao. You need seed.
And the Kusanji Cardinal Dene, Kutung Teatro, Agents. Yeah, Chushin, the agents.
Rinpoche, the long kabiare. With the NGK, the C Kashe ere long ama, long kabiare.
Children to
Long Then
Shesomba Taro, Najita.
yeah, okay. Then in Lama Lapcha.
Shingi Chula Tamabi Tunza Meba the Jire do. True there is that. Tada Shena Shin Tabasia there, and then go to Tangalesa to Somalia. Remember you know John. I guess what you came.
She's Chida draw is shin time. Dene not there, did don't agree. Dena ngau nga the dole sumbatar.
The Luzuma the Shaju Majunas. Chishin to Homa in the Tingal Latsayima. Shinsayab, Shiabu Jubaje, Shiabutele, and then turn to Matone. Dubaina, and then she did the Jabu Yashus Malata and Abu
Chishina true though. She did.
She had you about J, tell to Tadu Matabaje, and said Dune, do Maraka Dune, and then she had done to Abu Yashu, Malata and Abu Maro. Then Najin Tuesday, pauses and Goya Marubaje, and then Goya Malata, Tabaina, Dulusumba Najin. So
Rinpoche is just explaining, I went to the wrong section, so I'm just going to translate what he's explaining. He said, I've already explained this, but I gave him the wrong thing to explain. So it's going back to the fertile field. Even if one has a field and plants something in the wrong time, it's an infertile field no matter what. Even if one makes prayers for it to be a fertile field, it won't be. Likewise, if one just makes prayers to accumulate merit, one won't. One actually has to engage in the planting the seeds of virtue in order to accumulate merit. I'm looking for the specific. I can look at it later. Nyendang. 1, 2, 1. So we're out of time, unfortunately. But Demba Menga. This is the Menga. Garshene Menga.
She told them Menga is Menga.
Then the Garshene called Menga la. So they call Chiwa. The Menga. Injike Menga yure. The Garshene Menga la do.
She told them Menga, you know. Tangazu Goa Mobasagro. She told them Mangare, Tabi Judan, Sanji Kubuntu Junior Madu, Goa Mojo, Kual Guris. What the Kaza, Shing told them Mengares, Shing told them, and the Tabi Judan, Sanji Kubuntu Junior. She told Madena, Goa in a Kual Guris.
So if one doesn't rely upon the field of merit, then whatever virtue one creates is a cause for samsara. If one relies upon the field of merit, then this becomes the potential to be causes for liberation and for complete Buddhahood. So this is a personal instruction that is given. So this is advice. Rinpoche said it could be called advice also. I said Menga can be also lapcha. So this is advice that's given. This is what is said. It is said that if one relies upon the field of merit, then the virtuous won't be samsara virtue. So it's basically saying this has been passed down and this has been stated. So sorry that took me a minute. I was just trying to find the word in English and the Tibetan. It just took me a minute. We're out of time. So we'll do the concluding concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer, and thank you everybody for your patience. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well, with whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the 3 times. I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara, Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, the spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts, exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Tu Geshe Rinpoche, Gus Chapi Denrona, Lamrim Chenmo Kantri